to Corporate Cafecito, a podcast based on professional development, career growth, and respecting our cultural identity. Hi, everyone. It's Nallely. I am having my afternoon cafecito right now, and I thought of you. So I figured I would record a quick episode so I could share some thoughts and just kind of what's on my mind. It's really hard sometimes to deal with other personalities in the workplace, especially when you are either the manager or the leader, and you're trying to manage multiple people and they have different personalities. But it's also hard, just even sometimes, to manage coworkers without understanding what their communication style is or their leadership style. And so often a word that we throw out is the word respect. And respect is something that I would like to see eliminated from the workplace, not in the sense that we would be rude or aggressive or disrespectful, but that we actually address the behaviors that make us feel disrespected, because respect is very much a personal feeling, right? It is a feeling that we have, and it's that we feel wronged or uncomfortable. And so, we say that, you disrespected me, or I feel disrespected. Having a title does not mean you can automatically command respect. Being a person, though, you do get respect. And so, what I recommend, and I tell leaders all the time, is instead of saying, that was disrespectful, address the behavior. Well, I'll tell you a trend, right? In Japan, if you eat noodles, you should slurp them. You should be to show that it's a delicious bowl of noodles, that you loved it, that you appreciated it. And so slurping your noodles is a sign of enjoyment, of deliciousness. It's a praise to the chef. If you do that here in the US or even in Mexico, our parents would like hit us upside the head, come bien. And that's okay, because that's how we were trained. It doesn't mean that someone else is disrespectful for doing a different behavior. I just wanted to put that in because I think that's a very black and white example of when something is respectful, but is just different by culture. But when you feel disrespected, like let's say someone is you start talking and they just start talking over you, how do you address that? What do you do? As a manager, I often tell my clients, stand up and maybe just stand behind your chair. Take command of the room back. If you stand up naturally, because the first thing that people notice about you in communication is your body language. So if you just take a stand and just say like, okay, you know what, let's table that, or I'd like to continue with my point, or often I'll pause and say, like, is this something we should pause for and address, or can we continue? I like to have agendas and hold meetings that have an agenda. I don't necessarily put the numbers next to it. I don't say like, from 8 to 8:15, we're going to do this, 8:15 to 8:30. But I will, if someone starts rambling or going off on a tangent, I do say, hey, I understand you want to talk about that. We should have a separate meeting, or hold a separate meeting and let me know what you need from me. But for right now, it's very important that we stick to the agenda and get through these items. And that's a way, where I'm not trying to be aggressive and I don't want the other person to feel bad, but I do want to stay on point, because I know sometimes, and I am guilty of this too, I will derail a conversation. If you start asking about my weekend, then I'll be like, oh, I did this, or I went to over here and had tacos de carnitas, and the best carnitas are over here or over there. And then I'm like, where have you had carnitas? And then, I could talk about tacos all day, but there's a time and place. And so sometimes when we see these agendas or it's a tight meeting, I want to make sure that we can get through the topics. And so addressing the behavior, not saying you're being disrespectful, because disrespectful is a personal feeling. The behavior of talking over you is what's rude. And that's the behavior we need to stop. Being on time, right? Some people say, you don't respect my time. And you know what? That's what we address. We address timeliness. So if the meeting starts at 8, we start at 8. If the meeting starts at 9, we start at 9. I often tell people, I know we always give a couple minutes for the people who are going to be late, but let's reward being on time. Let's reward the good behavior. And also, if someone's running a little late, and I have run late too, so I'm not being mean. I'm not trying to take a dig, But, sometimes we're going to be a little late, but don't hold up the meeting for us. Go ahead. Like, we also wish we were there on time. I strive to be on time to everything, or maybe even a little early. But sometimes the last meeting runs over and then the new meeting starts. And so you just come in a couple minutes late. But address the behavior. Don't necessarily address the person and say, you were rude, you're being disrespectful, because that has a very parent-child tone. And instead, just address the behavior like, I've noticed that you're late for meetings often. And would it be helpful if if you scheduled your last meeting to end 10 minutes early? Or how can I make sure that you're there on time? Or, it's like, let's make sure that we hold space for each other, that when someone's speaking, we listen to them, and that we listen with full listening ears and not listening to respond. Because how many times are we like, someone's talking and we're like, I already have the next word that I want to say because I want to have a rebuttal or I want to add on to that. And so sometimes we miss some of the points. When you're on Zoom, it is so easy. I can't tell you how many times I'm on a Zoom and I see this. It's like, oh, you're on your phone. Make sure that you take the time to be in the meeting, that you're present, that you show up and that you're ready and prepared to be in that meeting. I challenged one of my clients. I said, do me a favor, and every time you have a conference call, put your phone in the other room. And he said, wow, I didn't realize how much I was on my phone. And by putting it in another room when I was on that meeting, I thought that meeting was so productive because I was really listening. I was really paying attention. I was able to focus on the topic. And he's like, I know if I had my phone in my hand, I would have played on my phone or been answering emails or responding to text messages. And I wouldn't have engaged the same way. And this would have become 3 meetings. And instead we did one 45-minute meeting and got a ton accomplished. I want you to think about the behaviors that mean something to you, the behaviors that make you feel uncomfortable when someone does it. And, that make that part of how you start a conversation. So, when I'm having cafecito with you, and some of my family members know this, if I have coffee or if I have breakfast or whatever, I throw my phone in my purse. And if you touch your phone, I'm going to throw your phone in my purse too, because I want to be present in the moment. And I understand if it's an emergency, there's going to be times you need to have the phone on there. But some people will say, oh, I'm waiting on a call from my doctor, so I need to have my phone out. Other than that, give it your full attention. That's one of the things that we talk about. It's like showing up, being present, feeling everything, being heard. But we need to make sure that we do that authentically in a way that feels natural to us, and also tell people like, hey, you know what? No, I need to have my phone out because my kids are going to call me, or because I'm waiting on a call. But other than that, I'm going to leave my phone away in a different room so that I could be here and in this moment. Because so many times everyone's in a room playing on their phone and it just doesn't create the same cohesiveness with a group or in a work environment. We don't feel that teamwork because everyone's kind of doing their own thing. All right. Well, I hope this helps. Remember, when you are talking about respect, that's a personal feeling. So address the behaviors that make you feel uncomfortable, or that make you feel that way, that make you feel like I didn't feel like that respect. And maybe it's making sure people don't talk over you. Maybe it's arriving on time. Whatever it is for you, address that behavior with the people on your team, or with your manager, or with your direct reports, to make sure that we're aware of what behaviors are acceptable and not acceptable in the workplace. And, I think that if we have those open conversations, it'll help us have better relationships moving forward. Because I'll tell you, a lot of times people aren't being disrespectful on purpose, especially, like when someone talks over someone else, I'm like, oh, they're very passionate, or maybe they're trying to get a point across, or maybe they're so engaged, they're ready to talk and listen. So give each other the benefit of the doubt, but maybe, just tell them like, hey, can you just insert a pause after a question? Let's make sure we give time to digest it or think. And then you'll start telling people what means something to you and how to engage with you in the workplace. So I hope you have enjoyed your cafecito. I've probably had like 6 cups today and I still feel like I could fall asleep. So, um, Have a great day. Have a great week. And I look forward to seeing you here on the next episode of Corporate Cafecito.